Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode on True Talks Business. I'm very excited today because today I am here with one of my clients inside the Selfmade CEO program. She's here with me, Felicity. I'm very excited to have her here. Felicity, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very well, Trudy. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course. And I'm also very excited to have this conversation with you. We have been working very closely together. I think it was since the start of April. I think a couple of weeks ago, you finished the program. So we're here to kind of like come together and hear you talk more about your experiences, things you learned, and your wins, basically. But before we get into all of it, do you mind sharing a little bit about what you do, your expertise, a little bit more about what you do and the good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what I do is I help high ticket coaches and visionary leaders sign high ticket clients consistently. So that's what I focus on in my business, and that's what I help other people do.
Amazing. Love that. And to get into it a little bit more, like what was your biggest challenge before we started working together? Like what was some of the things that you felt like was a little bit slow or somehow a challenge to sign more of those premium clients inside of your business? Can you walk us through that a little bit more?
Uh, the real challenge for me was being able to have conversations with people who would then turn from leads into clients. So it was having that in between, converting someone from a lead into.
Yeah, yeah. So really having that authentic, genuine conversations with, people online, with leads online that didn't feel icky, salesy, kind of like you're pushing them into an unnecessary sale that they don't even want to be in, right?
Right, and also having those calls with people, getting them come and have a discovery call with me, and
Yeah,
getting them, being at least getting on this. That was really challenging.
yeah. And talk to me a little bit more because I know that when you are in a position or when you are presented an opportunity to invest, sometimes it feels scary, right? Because you know that, you're investing and it comes with change. It comes with, out of comfort zone experiences. And that sometimes kind of feels scary. So for you, I want to hear more about what was it about our conversation or our initial conversation that kind of like convinced you that this was the next step because you are not new to investing, of course. You have been investing before. So why was the self-made CEO the perfect logical next step for you?
I felt that I was gonna get the personalized, tailored support in the self-made CEO. And I know that I knew of people who had also worked with in the past. The two things together were really sort of a next logical step for me because I
Yeah,
knew that in the containers I was in before, I was not getting that tailored approach. And I knew that I needed that one-on-one, high touch, high proximity
yeah,
tailored.
yeah.
That's what a
So
lot.
customization, like personalization was really key for you to say, yes, let's do this. You really wanted to have someone having eyes on your business, your niche, and the little nuances. Is that correct?
That's correct. But also somebody who knew what they were talking about, who had that experience, and he was going to be able to give it to me straight. So
I like that part. And we can dive into that a little bit more. But speaking of that, I love that. I love what you're saying. Were there some objections you had, maybe in your mind, or that you expressed to me vocal before joining the program? Were there any objections beforehand?
the only objection I had, which I never really exposed to you, was the money objection, which I kept to myself. Because I thought, oh, here we go, another money objection. So I thought I need to deal with this on my own. Because if I'm looking for that level of support, first of all, I think when you're going to get that level of support, the money objection becomes a bit ridiculous to expose out loud because we all have them, right? So
Yeah,
that was the only objection which I knew that I just had to deal with. And
yeah,
I could or I couldn't, but I wasn't going to waste your time in between.
yeah, yeah. I love the fact that you're saying that after a while, when you're investing in that high touch premium container, the almost expressing the money objection becomes almost like ridiculous. And I completely hear you on that because I'm the same way. Like I might be presented with a next level opportunity where I'm like, oh, that's a leap financially, but I will also keep it to myself. Either it's a yes or no. But even if I'm like, oh, I don't have it right now, I still take on the full responsibility that that's not their concern. Let me just go off and kind of like figure it out because I really want to do this still, regardless. I love that. It's very powerful as well. Speaking of that what do you find very different in my approach or in the way that I teach sales and marketing? Because in all honesty, Felicity, you weren't new to being in a container, all these marketing concepts, sales concepts, information wise, maybe some of the aspect weren't necessarily like, oh my god, completely new. But I would love to hear from you, like, what did you find different in the way that I deliver and teach sales and marketing and how I view it?
To be straight, it was your no bullshit approach. And I hope that's okay to say this on this
Yeah,
podcast.
of course.
But it really was a no BS approach where I thought, okay, this is tailored, this is no BS, this is cutting through everything, and it's straight to the point. And I could tell that you were going to be somebody who I would have to listen to, otherwise I'd be wasting my money and my time. So it
Yes.
was your approach, which was very direct and which made me uncomfortable at first, where I thought, okay, I need to listen to this.
Yeah.
I need to pay attention. She's not a coach that's going to soft edge things or make me feel good or hold space while I cry, all this sort of stuff. So I wanted to have a coach who, not that I'm against that, but I wanted to have a coach who really was going to push the needle. I mean, I knew that was going to be being uncomfortable and things I didn't enjoy and being really, really challenged. And
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And this is something that I hear often, the no BS approach. And do you know, I think it's really all subconscious. Uh, but that's the feedback that I get a lot. And it comes with so much love, right? Then again, I would love to hear from you, like, even though because you're saying something that it made you uncomfortable at times, but still you knew you needed this. Why did you wanted to put yourself in that kind of position where you're almost like pulled and challenged in how you view things or certain beliefs that you might have, where I'll just like take the needle and bust them open? Why did you want to put yourself in that kind of environment, so to say?
because I believed in the results and I knew that what I was doing up until that point was not working. I was not getting people on calls. I was not really closing clients. I wasn't having those conversations with people. I had no idea how to track my numbers, really. I had no leads tracker. I had none of these things which you and I went through. And I thought that if I stay in the position I'm in, I'm not going to progress. And I knew that the only way I was going to do that was to put myself in that position where I was going to be really uncomfortable. And we know that growth comes with being uncomfortable. And I knew that the more uncomfortable I was going to get, the more I was going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking about growth, what are some of the wins or growth experiences you have seen while we have been working together for the past 5 months? And it can be like business wise, but also just like you as a person, you as the CEO of your own business. Would you mind sharing a couple of wins that you've experienced or that you've gone through?
Of course, I think the biggest one was really stepping into that CEO mindset. So when you were challenging me always and putting back questions towards me when I was asking questions, how would I deal with certain things?
Yeah.
CEO mindset, which really got me speaking to people in a way I would not have spoken to them before. So
Okay.
I was a lot more direct with them. I held boundaries a lot more. I was showing up on discovery calls or sales calls differently. All that evolved throughout the business. Yes, I did get two wonderful clients with three wonderful clients. Was a total of $10,000. So that happened. Obviously, the finances side was a reward, but how to actually deal with these clients, process it involved, how to onboard them, and how to push these well. Everything for me, my gate and lucky dog.
I love that. I love that for you. And it's great to hear, especially when you're saying, the 10K is great, right? You've experienced a 10K month. The money aspect, I always find to be, amazing, right? When my clients hit that. But to be honest with you, what I really find interesting is the personal inner growth. And I love the fact that you're saying that now you're showing up completely differently. Um, you're far more direct. You're not tiptoeing around. You go in with a higher level of confidence. You know what you want to do. You know what you're worth. And that to me is just like priceless, to be honest with you, because it influences everything that you do essentially. So talking about like, being uncomfortable, what strategy in particular felt, uncomfortable at first, but ended up being a big needle mover inside of your business? Can you maybe name a particular strategy?
I'm so glad you asked this question because I was hoping we'd talk about that. So I've got two strategies. So the first one being one which everybody sort of rolls their eyes at, and that is the DMs. So you definitely have a strategy to getting into the DMs and talking to people in a certain way and really being in the granular detail and profiling people in a way where it was very individual to that person. That was a strategy which was difficult to get my head around, but it is the most important strategy in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because people were absolutely spot on when you said this is where the sales and the money generating leads are made. It's in those behind the scenes conversations.
Yeah.
So that was the strategy for me. But the second one was the sales calls. How do we navigate sales calls? How do we deal with sales calls? How do we come and show confidence and own our genius when we're dealing with objections? That was the second one. So there are two very different ones, but both of them are so important. And the ones that most of us roll our eyes at are those two.
Yeah. And why do you feel that a lot of business owners roll their eyes at these two strategies? And maybe talk about the DMs in particular. Why do you feel like a lot of business owners are just not leveraging, the one of the less costly sales strategy out there? Time wise, it is, but financially, it isn't. Right? Why do you feel like a lot of business owners are still rolling their eyes on this sales strategy?
I think it's a mindset thing, to be fair. Every single conversation I've had with somebody saying, oh, I really don't want to do DMs. I really don't want to do DMs. Is because they feel it's pushy, it's salesy, it's in your face, and they don't want to be, maybe they're fearful of rejection, even though they haven't articulated it that way. DMs are a really tough space to be in because there is going to be rejection. There are going to be,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
not be very kind. There are
Yeah.
people who it's time to do on your face. So it's all about, and you were brilliant at this. It happened to create that 6 day on how to deal with those people because that's part of the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
the version of me that wasn't making any sales was the version of me that was not getting any DMs. The version of me
Yeah.
that did 10K sales in 1 month
Yeah.
was a version of me that was getting people slagging in my face and people being nasty in the DMs and people also opening up in the DMs. But that's
Yeah.
what really did 10K. It wasn't because of the content of the business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, I think the mindset is the first thing. The second thing is people don't want to spend time doing DMs.
Mhm.
Time. I mean, I've had
Yeah.
some people say to me, I'll do 5 DMs a week. I'm like, want to make 100K by doing 5 DMs a week? No, it doesn't.
Exactly. Time. And for you, knowing that you weren't doing the conversation as much or at all, how did you eventually kind of like shift your mindset into, okay, I'm getting myself into this. What made it? Because when we were working together and when I presented this strategy, I can recall you being like, "Oh, no, no, no," or "Oh, no, I'd rather not do it." You were like, "Okay, let's go." How come you were so eager to just jump into it right away?
So for me, it was very particular because it was either I need to adapt to this and deal with it or I die. There was no 50 shades of grey in between. Because I
Yeah.
come to the place in my business because I hadn't signed clients for so long and invested so much money. Either
Yeah.
you were my last, yeah, either I'm going to do this or I'm going to go back and get a job,
Yeah.
which I didn't want to do. But
Yeah.
that's why I trusted you. I trusted what you were saying to me. And I knew that I had to go in 1,000%. So even though it felt uncomfortable, it was literally adapt or die. And I did.
Mm, I
So I
love
had
the
to
fact that
adapt.
I love the fact that you're saying the word no 50 shades of gray. It was just black or white. And I love that. I love that's why I have expressed this to you also privately that like I really enjoyed working with you over the past 5 months because it was just like, oh, okay, this is a strategy. Let's go. Let's get into it. Right. You were so eager to learn. And that's beautiful. That's really a great um um character to have because eventually you build skin in the game, right? So there are a lot of female experts, and you know it as well because you also help female entrepreneurs as well. What would you say to anyone who's right now on the fence on investing into any of my programs right now? What would you tell them?
I would say definitely jump off that fence and get in. Be prepared to be challenged. Be prepared to be uncomfortable. Be prepared to do things you don't want to do. Be prepared to know your numbers. That's the big one.
But how does it feel now knowing your numbers? I mean, it gives some sense of control, right?
Do you know what? I feel like we are literally in that little percentage of people that knows our numbers because every single coach don't, they
It's
don't have
shocking.
this.
It's shocking. A lot
And I
of
think
people don't
what
know their numbers.
really streamlined me on that one because the change, the evolution, and you've seen it in the time that we've worked together. I really thought I was married to you. I said at the beginning, has been exponential. And whoever says, if you're really going to go and go all in and do this to truly
Yeah.
be prepared to change in an exponential way. Absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Felicity, for having this conversation with me. And I wish you also all the best in your business.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing. And thank you all for tuning in into this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.